Okay. So at this point, you guys should hopefully be at the point where you have your intro, which is, again, your hook, your background information, and your claim. Okay. You should have your 2 body paragraphs. That's where we left off yesterday. Our goal today is to start with our counterclaim and rebuttal paragraph. Okay. Those are new things. Well, they're new to our writing this year so far. You should know them from last year, but this is going to be a little bit of a refresher. Okay. So your counterclaim and rebuttal. Does anybody remember what a counterclaim is? Yes, a counterclaim is what somebody else would say. So you're going to have a paragraph where you're going to include your counterclaim. You're going to include your counterclaim. And then you're going to have evidence of what somebody else would say. And then after you say, okay, I understand that the other people are going to say this, what do you do after you have your counterclaim and your evidence? Yes, you explain why it is wrong. So if we know that it is wrong, okay, that is called our rebuttal. A good arguer is somebody who gives the other, like, hey, I acknowledge that you're going to say this. I understand that you're going to say this, and this might be your reasoning. However, you're wrong. I want you to understand, I hear you, but you're wrong. If you're ever in an argument with somebody and you just keep talking over them and you don't actually listen to them, it's not really an argument. You're just being bossy. But if you're having a real debate, and if you're somebody who, when you get to high school and you want to go into debate class or debate team, you need to be able to listen to what other people are going to say and come back at them and say, okay, I hear you, but that is wrong. Okay. So I want to kind of show you what that might look like, just because this is the first time we've ever written one. So we're always going to start with a transition word. So you're going to start, you could say, like, some people might say, or on the other hand. Okay. So on the other hand, others might say, others might argue. Thank you, Google. Argue that vending machines are not beneficial for students and school buildings. So clearly, I am pretending that I am on what side? So right now I'm on the side of yes, we should have them. Okay. So my counterclaim rebuttal is going to be, hey, no, we should not. The one thing I want to say, when you're writing your counterclaim and rebuttal, you have to give a specific reason. So we're going to say they're not beneficial. That's still not a specific reason. So I'm going to say they might say this because vending machines can include sugary, caffeinated beverages that are terrible for our health. Okay, so do you see that that is my specific other side reason? Like, that's the other side, and this is their specific reason. Now, not quite done. I have to add evidence. I have to give them a little bit of voice. This is where your evidence from the second passage comes from. So when you're writing, you want to make sure, it always says don't overly rely on one passage. So this is where you can rely on your other passage. So I'm going to come to my passages over here, I think. Yes. And this is in the passage, vote no for vending machine, in paragraph 5. Okay. So in the passage, vote no for vending machines, in paragraph 5, the writer says, so here's, I'm going to pull my evidence. So the writer will say the last thing these kids need is more caffeine and sugar. Giving them access to vending machines filled with sugary drinks and snacks and loaded with fat could make these problems worse. I'm going to say the last thing these kids need is more caffeine and sugar. The last thing these kids need is more caffeine and sugar. So I have my evidence. People say that caffeine and sugar are unhealthy and distracting. Okay, so there's I hear your voice. There's my counterclaim. I hear what you're saying, right? Now I really have to prove them wrong. So I'm going to add a transition word. So I could say however, I could say even though, I could say in contrast. So I'm going to go with even though. Even though some studies have, even though this may be true, we have options. We don't have to put pop and energy drinks into vending machines. Students would greatly benefit from healthy snacks throughout the day so that their tummies won't rumble and that they can stay focused on the important things like their education. And then I'm going to end with a sum it up sentence. So I'm going to say, therefore, clearly with the choice, healthy choices, vending machines would have more benefits. Have a lot of benefits. Okay. So this right here is my counterclaim. So that is I'm going to give other people a voice. This right here is my rebuttal. This is my, yeah, but you're wrong. Do you see how it's even? Do you see how it's about the same length? Do I need evidence in my rebuttal? No, that's where your voice comes in. That's where you get sassy. That is where you have your tone, your voice. Okay? Now, you should have, if you got to this point on the organizer, you should have this here. This is the first part. Both of these is the first part. This is the second part. Okay? Remember, you want to be specific in your counterclaim. Okay? So here's what I'm going to say. Probably 12 minutes to get going, and then I'll interrupt you and talk to you about what goes in the conclusion and how we write a call to action, and then we should be in a good spot. All right? All right, get writing.